Let's go over the top 10 pickups for Week 4 in Fantasy Baseball coming up next on Beat the Odds. Don't go anywhere. Hello, baseball fans. Welcome back to another episode of Beat the Odds. We're going to go over the top 10 pickups for Week 4 in Fantasy Baseball. Before we get started, of course, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so that way you get notified whenever we drop an episode. Before we get started on the list here, we have some call-outs that we want to do. We have Uncle Ted with a big list of names here. We're going to sort through some of these. We'll talk about these here in just a second. David R. came with a list here as well. Mason Miller, Esteury Ruiz, Harold Ramirez, Mike Soroka, and Liam Hendricks. We'll talk about some of those here as well. Actually, to start, let's talk about Harold Ramirez. They're on both of Uncle Ted's and David R.'s list. I do like him. He's certainly outperforming what he normally does here. He has a career 745 OPS and a solid. He's a solid contact bat, but you're likely going to see regression from him here from the start of his season. I think he's currently almost at 1200 OPS here for the season. That's not going to remain for him as the season goes on. You'll likely see him go back to his career numbers. He's likely better suited as an outfielder for fantasy purposes than he is a first baseman. First baseman, you definitely want to see a little bit more power, but he's certainly off to a solid start. We'll talk a little bit about AJ Puck. He's currently running away with a closer job in Miami. He's been picked up pretty heavily over the past week, so he may not be available in your leagues, but certainly take a look to see if he is. If he is, I would scoop him up here pretty much right away. He's a filthy left-handed pitcher, and he's got 4 really good pitches that he uses, primarily fastball, sinker, slider. But he has the tools to really run away with the job and deliver some fantasy gold numbers at that closer position. And then finally, let's talk some Mike Soroka. Certainly is somebody that you can consider stashing if you've got the space there. And the reason for that, just take a look at his 2019 numbers. Very low K9 rate, but elite everywhere else. And he's, of course, playing for the Atlanta Braves, which proves to be one of the teams that will likely be a lock for 90 wins here this season. If you have the spot, pick him up. He's certainly going to be worth it there. That was a good call out there from both Uncle Ted and David R. All right, let's jump into our top 10 list here. We're going to start in Houston at number 10, Mauricio Dubon. 29% owned. He had 7 runs, no homers, 2 runs batted in, 1 stolen base, hitting .308 last week. Carries multiple positions, hitting at the top of the lineup there in Houston. It looks like he secured his spot there, at least until Altuve returns, and then he likely might slide into a super utility role. At that point, if you have him, then I would consider taking a look at dropping him. But certainly for the short term, he's a great add for teams who are looking for runs and for average. Up next, we're going to look at Esteury Ruiz, Oakland outfielder. 2 runs, no homers, 1 run batted in, 1 stolen base, .217 average here last week, batting first in that lineup. David R. mentioned Ruiz here, and he is right. Don't be fooled by the average he hit here last week. That's just a minor blip here for what he can do. He hit .332 in the minors last year, 973 OPS, 85 stolen bases. Just let that sink in there a little bit there. But I think almost more importantly is he hit 16 home runs across 2 levels in the minors last year there as well. He could be a lock for 80 runs and 60 stolen bases atop the Oakland lineup here to finish off the season here this year. At number 8, we're going to go with Joey Meneses. Off to a poor start, of course, the first 2 weeks here. Had a run at homer, 3 runs batted in, 273 average here last week. A lot of owners have already kind of dropped Meneses, but they may be regretting that. He hasn't lost his roster spot in the order there. Washington still believes in him, and he likely will be a bounce-back candidate here as the season runs on here. And being that he's in a productive spot, that's just going to do really well for those who need his counting stats. So if he's out there and you need a first baseman or an outfielder, he's certainly somebody that I would take a look at. At number 7, we're going to take a look at Johan Oviedo. 6 innings pitched here in a win, 6 strikeouts, 1.5 ERA, 1 whip. Uncle Ted mentioned Oviedo here. 3 straight quality starts. He's really doing some solid work. On the mound, 2 runs in his last 19 innings pitched against not great competition, but certainly noteworthy there if you're following him. His real test, I believe, comes this week against the Dodgers. But I mean, keep in mind, Pirates are 16-7 starts to this season here, and a lot of that's back behind quality starting pitching. So somebody that, you know, I would give a shot here for sure in my league if I need some starters. Up next, we're going to go to Houston. Brian Abreu, 27% owned. 4.2 innings pitched here last week. 2 saves, 6 strikeouts, no runs on .43 whip. Is it possible that Ryan Presley's losing the closer grip in Houston? Dusty Baker doesn't seem like he's tipping his hand that way here, but Abreu had back-to-back saves this weekend and would look to be the next man up here if Dusty decides to shake up the back end of that bullpen. Brian Abreu certainly has closer repertoire. His slider he throws 48% of the time, and he's got a high 90s fastball in his arsenal there as well. Up next, we're going to go to Milwaukee. Wade Miley, 5 innings pitched here last week. Here, 1 win, 3 strikeouts, 3.6 ERA, 1 whip, 50% owned in leagues. The last time he pitched in Milwaukee in 2018, Miley compiled 2.57 ERA, going 5-2 in 80 innings pitched. He's off to a better start here this year, and he has big victories already against the Mets and the Padres, and he combined in those 2 starts to have no earned runs in 13 innings pitched, which makes me believe that his soft tossing ways will continue to lead to soft contact and continued success here throughout the year. At number 4, we're going to go to Texas. Jonah Heim, catcher, 4 runs, 2 homers, 8 runs batted in, 375 average here last week, 67% owned, so he's a little over that threshold, batting in the number 6 spot in that lineup. Uncle Ted mentioned Heim as well here. I think, again, somebody might want to take a look to see if he is floating around in the waiver wire here, because if he is, he's certainly worth a speculative pickup. He has the potential to be a top 10 catcher this year for sure. He hit 358 in AAA, so you know he's got good contact skills. We haven't really seen that in the major, but he hit 16 home runs last year, so maybe it's all kind of coming together for him, and if that's the case, he's got the potential to be in that top 5 spot for catchers here this year. At number 3, we're going to go to Minnesota. Jorge Polanco, 61% owned, 2 runs, 1 homer, 2 runs batted in, 385 average here, batting 6th right for now in that Minnesota lineup. He's clocked 3 games back from his injury here. His last full season, 97 runs, 33 homers, 98 runs batted in, 11 stolen bases, going 269. He's been out, of course, for quite some time rehabbing his injury, but he is still in his prime. He's certainly capable of posting those numbers, those types of numbers here to finish off the season. So if you need a second baseman, this is a quality pickup that you can get off of many waiver wires in many leagues here. At number 2, Brandon Marsh. We talked about him here last week. 63% owned, so he's, again, kind of a little bit over that threshold, but certainly somebody you're going to want to take a look at to see if he's sitting out there on your waiver wire. 4 runs, 2 homers, 3 runs batted in, 333 average here, batting 5th in that Philadelphia lineup. Official fearing of the beard. He has had continued success to start the year. He's currently ranked 38 in Yahoo circles. 12 OPS to start the year, of course. Back to on base percentage of .455. Other than the occasional sit versus lefties, there's really little that you can dislike about Brandon Marsh's game. If he's out there, again, go and get him. Last but not least, at number 1, Brian Anderson, Milwaukee, 62% owned, 4 runs, 2 homers, 4 runs batted in, 304 average here last week, batting up 5th in that Milwaukee lineup. He's seen a dip in ownership over the last couple of weeks after that hot start to the season. This may be your last opportunity to be able to grab his services for your fantasy team, and it's definitely worth it. Carries outfielder and third base eligibility in some leagues. He likely will give you a solid chance at a 270 average with 30 homers and 100 RBI this year if he can keep up his pace. So grab him if you can. And that's going to do it here for the list. I hope you guys enjoyed this here. If you did, make sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers, so any little bit will help. We are going to be posting a 1,000 subscriber giveaway here shortly, so stay tuned to the channel for more information on that. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks again for watching. We are going to sign off for now, but we're going to catch you guys on our next episode.